And just like that, we are back into a very rapid Game 2 between Cobra Boys and SNK Esports, with Cobra Boys taking the first pick and the dire side this match. So they quickly ban out the Lesharok, and it looks like we'll be having a bunch of the same bans coming out for Game 2. But right as I say that, SNK Esports decided they want to get rid of the gyrocopter, and they do so. Cobra Boys banning out the same heroes as before. They said, you know what, it worked for us last time, let's do it again. And they ban out the Lesharok and the Queen of Pain.
Dire team pick.
SNK Esports ban 2 coming as the Undying, and Cobra Boys immediately pick up the Earthshaker as their first pick. It got banned out in Game 1 by SNK Esports, and although they did make great use of the Witch Doctor, they're probably sitting here saying we could have done even better if we had that Earthshaker. So they pick him up right away this time, preventing SNK Esports from getting that second opportunity to ban him out in the second ban phase of the draft.
5 seconds remaining.
SNK Esports taking a bit more time here with their first pick after taking a pretty substantial beating in Game 1. They're looking to put a little bit more thought, a little bit more concentration into this first pick to see if they can't unravel the secrets of Cobra Boys and win Game 2 here to bring it to a tie in this best-of-2 match. They pick up the Viper.
Radiant team pick.
Is their first pick, most likely to be in the middle lane, but we shall see. And it was one of the heroes that was also banned out in Game 1. So the first pick by both teams coming as heroes that were banned out by the opposing team in Game 1.
Dire team pick.
For their second pick, they pick Chen, who is currently one of the least picked heroes in Dota. I'm gonna look up the stats on that real quick here.
Dire team ban.
But I know he's like bottom 4, bottom 5. He is the bottom 1. He is the least picked hero in Dota right now, with a 1.6% pick rate out of all of the heroes. Over the past month, at least. He comes in with a win rate of 43%. Also, not the highest win rate, definitely not the lowest, but being the least picked hero. And when players pick Chen, to me that immediately tells me they've played Chen before. They know how to use him. And if you do, he is a great hero. He can put early pressure on towers, he can put early pressure on lanes by converting those creeps. Oh, okay, good. Just wanted to make sure my overlays were correct.
10 seconds remaining.
But as I was saying, Chen can put that early pressure on lanes, early pressure on heroes by converting those jungle creeps, those neutral creeps, rotating into a lane and really locking down opposing heroes. The Cobra Boys team pick up their second support as their second overall pick. With Disruptor, they say, hey, it worked before, let's do it again. And SNK Esports need to be careful that Cobra Boys don't just pick up the remaining heroes that they had from last game. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Shadow Fiend, a Darkseer, and that kind of wombo combo that they were very successful in executing in the previous game. If it's not broke, why fix it?
Reserve time.
But SNK Esports decide to change up their bans a little bit for the second phase, and they ban out a Keeper of the Light and a Bounty Hunter. With Cobra Boys banning out the meaty, tanky offlane Bristleback, one of the few heroes who might be able to tank that AoE wombo combo that's present from the Cobra Boys lineup in Game 1, and it looks like it's shaping up to be the same type of synergy in Game 2. With SNK Esports picking up a Dazzle, they're going to have a fair amount of heal on their team,
Radiant team pick.
and a fair amount of slow between the Viper Poison and the Poison Touch from Dazzle. So you're going to have Hand of God, a very likely mechanism on the Chen or the Dazzle as well. And then the, not Shallow Grave, the Shadow Weave from Dazzle, providing the additional and a bit more spammy heals.
Remaining.
But Cobra Boys respond to the Dazzle by saying, hey, you know what? If you're going to give Shallow Grave to someone, we are just going to dunk them. And
Reserve
they
time.
pick up the Axe with his ultimate Calling Blade, which insta-murders anyone below a certain HP threshold, regardless of whether or not Shallow Grave is on that hero. So anytime in pubs you see a Dazzle, you can almost guarantee they're going to be counterpicked by an Axe. It's super annoying, and playing a Dazzle support into an Axe is painful to say the least. It almost entirely negates one of your most powerful spells and gives you second thoughts about even casting it, because you think, you know what, why would I even cast this? Why don't I preserve the mana and just throw Shallow Touch and spam one or two more heals around? The SNK Esports team picking up a Pudge, so I'm not sure if that's going to be an offlane Pudge and a mid Viper, or an offlane Viper with a mid Pudge. We'll see how it goes. I've seen some Pudges play as kind of that rotating fourth slot support, but with the Chen and Dazzle already picked up by SNK Esports, I don't expect that to be the case here, because I don't know how they would go about really laning and driving a core Dazzle or core Chen. Cobra Boys having
Team pick.
maybe the exact same bans. I don't remember if Bristleback was their fourth ban from the previous game, but everybody else was banned out in the first game. The Lesharok, the Queen of Pain, the Bloodseeker, and the Tusker. With SNK Esports deciding to ban out the Phantom Lancer, which doesn't quite make sense to me,
10 seconds remaining.
as Cobra Boys have already picked up the Juggernaut, and I expect that Jugs to be their safe lane hard carry.
Puck.
And the third potential mid hero coming out from SNK Esports on the Puck. So you're going to have a lot of strong initiate on both sides of the fence. You're going to have Glimpse, you're going to have the Blink Earthshaker with the Fissure and Echo Slam. But on SNK Esports side of the fence, you're going to have the Blinking Orbing Puck, you're going to have Pudge throwing hooks around, and Cobra Boys respond by picking up a Tinker, which is going to be their middle player, played by KC, and we'll see who he gets laned up against, as there are three heroes who could potentially take that middle slot. Silver playing the off lane in the previous match. We'll see if that's the same here. But it looks like they're going to put Viper in the safe lane. Some map drawings coming out from Axe. But while we get underway here, you have Spursman Spurf playing the Viper on Puck. You have SNK Kevdog on Pudge. You have SNK Silver occupying the off lane. I'm going to keep an eye on the minimap here, as it looks like we might have an early clash. On the Chen, there's Jesus Was My Dad. Then in the jungle, hiding amongst the woods, is Burska Durska on the
30
Dazzle.
seconds to battle.
This top lane look like it's going to be heavily contested. Want to make sure I catch any bloodshed here for you before I finish introducing the second team. Let me throw the Darmin cast overlays up. And Puck would be suicidal to go in here, but looks like he is going to go in and poke the disruptor once, but then retreat back to the safety of his lane. So, in the off lane, being played by Robin Socks is the Axe. In the middle, you have Tinker being played by Casey, who just put on an excellent performance on his Shadow Fiend. We'll look for him to do the same in the middle lane this game. Starting off by firing lasers into the Puck. In the top lane, there's a rotation from Here Comes the Cobra, the Fissure Juke coming out from Wayne's World, who is playing the Earth Shaker. His fellow support player on the Disruptor being Sonics, who just narrowly dodges a hook and starts some right-click harass against that Pudge. While the hard carry, Loose Puss, is playing Juggernaut in the Dire safe lane. So, game 2 underway. You have Burska Durska doing a stack pull for his Viper, pulling the creep equilibrium back towards his Viper to allow him some safer farm. But the support's on top of the support duties. They quickly identify that there's a Radiant Ward, and blink and you miss it. Casey's back to doing what he did in game 1 and picks off his second straight first blood in this best of 2 series. So Casey starting off strong in the middle lane for both game 1 and game 2.
Illusion.
And with that, he's able to rotate top, pick up the illusion rune. And he doesn't quite have his bottle yet. Looks like it's on its way. So he'll have it, he'll mana up. And with Earthshaker rotating, Puck does not see this. And he just phase shifted. So Tinker throwing his illusions back there, get a little bit of harass. A little bit of right click, and there's the Fissure, there's the laser.
Nothing.
Missile lands as well, and a couple right clicks, and Puck will go down. So, Earthshaker happy with his accomplishment, rotates back to the top lane, and that gives Tinker a definitive lead and a definitive handle on the middle lane. So he's going to sit there and twitch away until he gets into the last hit territory. Burska Durska doing the pull through to continue to drive that creep equilibrium deep into Radiant side. To me, I don't know if that pull was really necessary. You want to try to have the creep wave right around here so you can't rotate behind.
Where you're going.
And Sonic's diving deep behind the tier 1 tower to pick off the Pudge. So he may be a little bit too deep here. He is able to kill the Pudge, but Burska Durska rotates top a little too late to save his ally Pudge, but he does get the Shadow, the Poison Touch off on Sonic's, but it eventually fades. Right-click damage is exchanged, but nothing lethal as Disruptor is able to retreat back to the safety of Earthshaker, and what appears to be a farming jungle axe, as they've let Viper control this bot lane in its entirety. So Burska Durska, realizing he's not truly needed, rotates to the top lane, tries to pick off that Disruptor, and is now going to hang out with Pudge, see if they can apply some pressure against this Loose Puss Juggernaut carry. KC sitting on top of a regen rune. His hits KevDog with a laser as well as some right-click damage. He has enough mana for a missile, so probably look for him to try to get vision, pop that phase shift, and then land a missile or a laser, and then eat the regen rune, get back to full HP. Pudge, however, on the top lane, I missed it. He was able to land what would appear to be a hook from the jungle and catch the Juggernaut out of position. Dire team not having vision of their entire jungle here, so he was able to do that in relative secrecy. Especially with the Disruptor rotating to the bottom lane, trying to harass back this Viper and slow down his farm just a little bit. But with Corrosive Skin already coming online for Spurf, there's not going to be a lot that Disruptor can do at this stage of the game against them. Especially being 2 levels down. If Disruptor pushes too far ahead, Viper is going to be able to just run up to him and poison him and slow him to death. But 3 heroes rotating from Cobra Boys. Pudge does land a hook against Earthshaker, but Earthshaker says, you know what, that's fine. I have a couple more cores with me, so do what you want. He walks away from Pudge, who immediately regrets his decision. And on his way out, Wayne's World drops a fissure to make sure that Pudge pays for his boldness in hooking him out from the jungle. But I don't believe Radiant have vision of that jungle either, so that was a blind hook being thrown into the jungle and catching the Earthshaker. So as far as skill shots go, A+. As far as getting what you wished for, not so much. Another laser being thrown out by Casey, just trying to harass this puck down so that at any given moment someone can pop out and just nuke him down. Puck not having the meatiest health pool to begin the game, sitting on 640 HP himself, which compares to the 834 HP that Casey currently has. A phase shift being used by Puck. If a quick fissure had come there, it might have been enough to catch him out, but the fissure does come. The missile, the laser, the right click, Axe is rotating down. He does get the hunger off on him, and they catch him in the jungle. The dunk comes, and even though he's dream coiled, it looks like he just ran straight through it, but the hook does land, catching Wayne's World again for the second time. He's going to rot right behind him, but it looks like it's not being applied. The slow is not there. And Pudge, having the same boots as Earthshaker, isn't going to be able to catch up to him. Sonics rotates from the bottom lane, tosses out a glimpse, as well as a little bit of harassment damage there, and Wayne's World is going to be able to, again, retreat to safety, and do so under the comfort and protection of his allies. So, getting caught by a couple hooks, but not really paying the price for it. Tinker rotating to the jungle to farm up a little himself. Looked like he was trying to stack those 2 camps at the 8-minute mark. Doesn't quite get it, but he'll be able to continue throwing down these marches and get some experience. But now Chen is doing what Chens are known for, what their specialty is, and applying that relatively early tower pressure in the middle lane, dropping the tier 1 tower to half health. And you have some pinks coming out from the bottom lane as well, but that middle tower does go down. Tinker not in position, he doesn't have the mana to really contest it and go after it. And of course he doesn't want to lose the lead that he's established so far. On the net worth, sitting about 2,400 ahead of the puck. So Casey showing how to take advantage of a middle lane and get that gold lead and sit on top of it. For the second game in a row here, he's gotten above his counterpart middle player by about 2,400 gold inside of 10 minutes. Wards coming up from both teams, kind of in this middle area. They're pinging people out. Tinker now has his boots of travel, so he's going to start to get quite a bit more active. Axe is pinging out the puck. They want him. They catch the glimpse. The fissure lands, but it's a little bit too early, but it doesn't matter. The orb tries to secure his escape, but with 4 players there and the teleporting Casey, there's too much damage and puck just explodes. So, but while puck does fall, Jesus Was My Dad rotates to the bottom lane and gets his second tower in about as many minutes. Looking at the last hits here. Viper, with his relatively uncontested safe lane, has gone 57 last hits in the first 10 minutes, with Juggernaut in a relatively uncontested safe lane of his own, sitting right there on par with him at the 58. Now they're both sitting on 58 with about 16-17 denies. Tinker in the mid lane, able to match that number as well, but also rack up a few kills, as he's sitting 2-0-2, so not quite as violent as he was in Game 1, but continuing to apply pressure here. And Cobra Boys starting with another pretty decent lead, being 6-2, not quite as strong as the 9-2. And Puck's chasing after this Disruptor, and with one more right click, they're going to be able to drop him. Puck pops his haste, and he makes a rapid escape out of there, as the rest of the Cobra Boys team rotates to try to avenge their fallen Disruptor, but they're not going to be able to find it. Not when Puck's sitting on top of a haste. Smoke's coming out from Chen and Viper, and they'll rotate into the Roshan jungle. And the Dire Ward is there, but they're not going to see this. If they're paying close attention, you can kind of see some of the animations and everything. But it doesn't appear like they're going to recognize this is going on. Axe rotating to the top, he's pinging out the Pudge. They now do have... No, they don't. That's just good awareness coming out from the Puck. That's actually a Radiant Ward, but Puck's pinging out the woods. He knows that Puck's there, and he blinks to right where he used to be, knowing that's one of Pudge's favorite hook spots so far this game. But in the meantime, Viper and Chen are able to drop Roshan, and Viper picks up the Aegis and rotates out, grabbing a double damage in addition. Cobra Boys looking to get their first tower of the game. Start to pressure the top lane as SNK says, you know what, go ahead, take our tier 1. Take our tier 1 top. They might have to sacrifice tier 1 bottom as well. We're going to exchange it for your tier 2 tower. So they're not looking to get into these early team fights. They're looking to push towers and take gold through map control. Here comes the Cobra rotating out to try to get that last second protection down on their tier 2 tower. Disruptor walking forward a little bit too far and getting caught out by the Puck. And now Casey and Juggernaut fall as well, with the entirety of the SNK team dropping to about half health. But the sustain coming out from the Mechanism, the Shadow Weave, and the armor from Dazzle, they're going to push into the high ground here with 3 heroes down. It looks like the Cobra Boys heroes that are remaining are circling in from behind. So Robin Sox blinks in to the Pudge. Wayne's World just walks uphill into the middle of 5 heroes. He gets netted out by a Chen Troll and dropped immediately. So Robin Sock buys a little bit of space, doesn't die himself, but Earthshaker not so lucky in his efforts. The continuous heals coming out, Robin Sock blinks in, is able to get the Viper in a Berserker Call, and eventually drop him with his Calling Blade. And now Cobra Boy is looking to clean up the overextended SNK Esports, but the sustain from SNK Esports is very real. The 2 healers and the support characters are still very much there, and with Viper having the Aegis in his inventory, he's back in the game as well. So they're looking to stick around and continue beating on this middle racks. And so what looked to be a pretty standard Tier 1 for Tier 2 tower exchange turned into some hyper-aggression from the SNK Esports lineup as they push into high ground at the 13-minute mark, and within a minute or two, they are able to continuously siege out that middle lane and drop the first racks of the game inside of 15 minutes. So that'll get your compendium bonus points if you're sitting on top of that one. And all they had to trade for it was their off-lane Tier 1 tower. So they don't lose much in terms of map control. Tinker thinking about porting to the top lane, but he sees the dazzle of the puck, decides, you know what, maybe that's not the smartest idea, so he calls it off and rotates instead to the middle lane, where the farm is a little bit safer for him.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Sonic's trying to push the creep equilibrium back onto the Radiant side of the map, as SNK Esports group up, and they'll likely start putting some pressure on additional towers here, but they don't have Chen with them this time. He's rotated back to the jungle to rebuild his army, and Pudge is a little bit behind as well, as he's rotating through the river right now to get in position in the flanks of SNK Esports. The puck silence is there, but it doesn't matter as Juggernaut's able to just spin out of it and eventually drop the puck, but in return, SNK Esports turn the tables a little bit. They do drop the X, they do drop the Juggernaut. The last poison coming out on Tinker, it's not quite going to be enough to kill him. Silver throws a hook out and eventually gets fissured to his death, so right now a 2-for-2 exchange as both teams fight in the woods underneath the Tier 1 tower on the Dire side. And supports on both teams kind of creating space between Glimpse and Fissure, the puck silence, and even the Pudge acting as a bit of a support player there in pulling people away with hooks. So a little bit of a dance. There were a few near deaths in the Viper and the
bottom tower is under attack.
Tinker, but they fall back, they regroup, and now Chen has rotated to the top lane. He's got the Mud Golems with their shard split. That's going to act as essentially 6 different converted heroes, because when they split, he will get control out of those as well as having that mini stun if they're able to catch it off. Puck blinks ahead, gets a 2-hero Dream Coil and a 3-hero Orb. They're able to drop Earthshaker before he's able to do much. He does blink ahead to his Orb, and he gets nearly killed for doing so. But the Shallow Grave does come off and ensures that he's going to be able to survive. The rest of the team fall back, and it looks like they pop a smoke to secure their escape. With the Disruptor, the Jugs ult down, and Disruptor sitting on about just under half health himself. And SNK Esports are going to continue to apply this early tower aggression that had benefited them in the middle lane. So they very quickly roll up Tier 2 tower, and we'll see if they look to continue to apply pressure here in the top lane. So far, it certainly looks like they are. They do see the Juggernaut in the middle lane, and he needs to get back pretty quick. Tinker's pinging out to the Pudge. They know he's kind of rotating around, looking for that hook. And the Chen creeps, tanking the Tier 3 tower. Pudge tosses out a hook. It's slightly off the mark. March of the Machines throwing down that nuisance damage across the entirety of the team, as Glimpses and Kinetic Fields get dropped by Disruptor, but Viper turns and says, "Leave my teammates alone," and he kills him with poison. Wayne's World blinks in with his Blink Dagger, drops an Echo Slam, dropping the entirety of SNK team to what looks to be about 2/3 health, but they quickly regen with the ton of heal and the ton of sustain they have. And the last right click thrown out by Puck, in addition to his Orb, are able to finish off the remaining Cobra Boys hero on the Tinker. That's an entire 5-for-0 team wipe coming out from Cobra Boys into SNK Esports. So it looks like SNK may have found the trick here. Silver force staffing himself ahead and grabbing a hook onto the disruptor as well as a dismember, and Wayne's World spawning just a little bit too late to save his allies. He does throw out the fissure to try to dislodge Pudge, but between the Pudge damage and Puck blinking ahead, tossing out an orb of his own, it didn't look like safety was in the cards for the disruptor, as he does wind up falling. Meanwhile, the two supports playing objective gaming, they rotate to the bottom lane. They say, hey, you guys can farm the fountain if you want to, but we're here to take towers. And that's exactly what Jesus Was My Dad does on the Chen. Casey trying to control the creep equilibrium here a little bit with his March of the Machines and force the team out. But Radiant decide to fall back, regroup, reset, get their ults off cooldown, get that Hand of God heal back online. Dazzle has his ultimate ready to go, his armor boost and weave, and Pudge himself has had enough time to reset his dismember. So Viper's ult, that's not that long anyway. What is it, 12 seconds? Yeah. He's got the Aghanim Scepter, which decreases the cooldown of that ultimate to about nothing. You can definitely run yourself out of mana well before you complain about the cooldown timer. And just for added good measure, looks like they're going to put Burska Durska on the Dazzle into the Roche pit, say, hey, hang out here, see if Roche responds. But he's going to be waiting there for a couple more minutes. Looks like there's still 90 seconds on the Roshan timer. It could have spawned by now, so it could be spawning any second, but they get the poor luck of the draw in a relatively long Roshan timer here. Silver positioning to the side of the creep wave, seeing if he might be able to catch out a Tinker. He's sitting on a Blink Dagger and a Force Staff, so he's a hyper-mobile Pudge. He rotates through the jungle, a missile comes, and it's going to prevent Pudge from being able to blink. He still had the Force Staff, but between the missile and the blink back to the safety of his Tier 3 tower, Tinker's going to be fine there. Right now, the Radiant team is sitting with a very comfortable map control advantage and the ability to farm. They keep poking their head into the Roche pit, saying, God dang, when is this guy going to spawn? But they still got about 45 seconds on it. It'll be right around the 23-minute mark that Pudge spawns. Meanwhile, Robin Socks on the Axe is trying to farm up some jungle. There's a lot of Blink Daggers out on this game. You have the Blink Dagger on Axe, you got Blink Dagger on Tinker, Blink Dagger in the works for Earthshaker. He's still about 300, 400 gold away. You got Blink Dagger on Pudge. Nothing yet on the Viper, but you got Blink Dagger on Puck. So you're sitting on 4 Blink Daggers, couple Force Staffs, and maybe another one. So 23-minute mark, they do find the Roshan sitting there, finally respawning. They're going to pick up the Aegis, and then I suspect them to push that final lane on the bottom side of the map and take this second game. So after a very rough start, SNK Esports is able to rebound from a 1-6 deficit to a 19-10 lead, and it looks like the experience not showing much in terms of the first 11 minutes, but then after that they started pushing those towers aggressively, and since then there's been no looking back. The weave on Dazzle coming out, hitting the majority of the Radiant team. Pudge positioning in the flanks, getting ready to hook, with the rest of the team throwing everything they got at this Tier 3 tower. Spaceman feeling very confident with his Aegis. He's going to be standing well ahead of his team. He's eating multiple ults and a lot of nuke damage from the Dire team. And he eventually goes down, but right now this is objective gaming to SNK Esports. They're saying, you know what, burn our Aegis, that's fine, we're going to take your Tier 3 tower for it.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Pudge blinking up onto the high ground, looking to catch someone out. Puck himself blinks ahead, does land a 3-hero Dream Coil, and multiple heroes getting hit by the silence as well. Disruptor is able to right-click some heroes down himself, and buybacks coming up from the entirety of the Cobra Boys team as they try desperately to save their last racks in the game. Robin Sox blinks ahead. Berserker calls the Spaceman Smurf, but Pudge is waiting in the flanks, hooks Axe away, but Axe decides to take that Pudge and drop him to the ground as well, and then rotate back to make sure that the Viper does drop. So at the end of the day, Cobra Boys are able to defend their racks, and Axe is able to get multiple hero kills for his efforts, but it cost them dearly. It cost them 3 different buybacks, so looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 deaths on Cobra Boys for the 4 deaths of SNK Esports. But at the end of the day, these 2 racks are sitting at half HP for the melee racks, which is going to slowly regen here, and 3/4 health on the ranged racks, which is not going to regen. As well as the final tier 3 tower being dropped from the Dagger side of the map. So right now they do have the ward up on the bottom rock. They know that that's where SNK Esports is going to be pushing. That's all that's left in the game, and at this point I think it's all SNK's game to have. Chen grabbing a couple creeps as he rotates back into the lane. A 5-hero weave being dropped this time from SNK. And the Burska Durska. But Jesus Was My Dad grabbing that Ancient War Golem, which gives the Granite Aura, increasing the health of everyone on the team by 15%. That's going to put Viper up to 2200 and Pudge up to 1700, but he's out of the range of the Aura right now. And BKB coming off from Spaceman Smurf as he dives into the enemy heroes, saying, look at me, I'm a Viper, try to kill me. And it looks like they will eventually know. The Glimmer Cape saves them, as well as the Shallow Grave, and so it's going to be a 4-for-0 plus the 2 racks of the Cobra Boys. And GG is going to be called after the Mega Creeps are spawned. And that is it for Game 2. So it is a 1-for-1 exchange coming out from SNK Esports, or Hardcore Pwn. And here comes the Cobra, also known as Cobra Boys, with SNK winning Game 2, Cobra Boys winning Game 1, and very solid execution from both teams in terms of figuring out what their strategy is and playing their game. In Game 1, Cobra Boys decide, you know what, we're going to commit to a very strong, a very AoE-centric team fight lineup, and that's exactly what they did, and they stuck to it. SNK in Game 2 decide, you know what, we're going to pick up Chen, we're going to pick up Dazzle and some Viper, and make sure that we have enough sustain to commit to those early game tower pushes and just fight objective gaming, go for towers, kind of ignore those hero kills, and that's exactly what they did from that middle lane when they pushed into the tier 2 in exchange for their tier 1 top. From then on, it was no looking back. They said, from now on, we're just diving into enemy towers. They rolled up the middle lane, got a very early middle racks, then rotated to the top lane, rinsed and repeated. They hit a little bit of a road bump in the bottom lane when they threw their lives into the high ground and weren't quite able to commit to it due to the heavy buyback committed by the Cobra Boys lineup. So Cobra Boys was able to delay the inevitable for a couple minutes there as their buybacks were able to prevent their bottom racks from falling for a little bit. But as soon as Esports respawned, SNK Esports respawned. They regrouped. They didn't even wait for Chen to get a full army. He just grabbed one golem from the ancient grouping on the dire side of the map as they walked into the lane, threw Viper into the enemy mix, and called it a day. So, congratulations to both teams going 1-1. Yeah, this has been twitch.tv/DarminCast. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in future AD2L League games. And good luck to all of you out there in the Dota community. Bye.